Greetings. So in this video, we're going to be talking about the future of email marketing and AI. And the way we're going to do this one is actually starting at the back. So we're going back to the future, back to the past, I guess. And we're going to start with, so I started email marketing like 7, 8, 9 years ago, and where the progress has taken us so far and where I think it will take us next. And will there be designers? Do we need to make 10 mil today to be able to just survive in the age of AI? Will we be taken over by robots? Actually, I will not answer that question. I don't feel qualified for that. But what I do feel qualified for is talking about email marketing and arbitraging AI in general. So I've been doing this for over 8 years now. We helped over 300 e-com brands with email marketing, including 2 Fortune 500 companies. So there's that. And yeah, I guess let's start with like where we were at, like 8 years ago, something like that. So 8 years ago, the process of creating an email from an email marketing agency's perspective was, at least the way we did it, was we had people on the team. It started off always with the account manager, who is kind of like the project manager who takes care of each project in terms of like communicating with the clients, coming up with a campaign strategy, and what sort of emails should we send for you. Let's say for your supplement brand, okay, the client wants to do this and this, they don't want to do discounts. Okay, so we're going to create these, I don't know, 15 campaigns this upcoming month, and that's what we're going to do. We send it to the client, gets approved, and then, okay, we put it into Trello at the time. So now it's, many people are using ClickUp. By the way, hot take, I think ClickUp is like overcomplicated basically. And I personally prefer Trello. I used Monday as well, and Asana, all of these ones. I hear a lot of bad stuff about Trello, and it's still what we use to this day. And it's actually, I don't know, I like it the most out of all the project management tools so far. You get a lot of notifications, but it's still fine. Okay. So you're the account. I used to be the account manager. I worked at another agency for like 5 years, and I would be this person, the account manager, and then, okay, I add the task into Trello. Okay, this was all done manually. So a lot of these things, like we will get to where we are now, right? But at that point, you just had to do it, and then you assign the copywriter, who had to be paid 2-3K euros or USD as well. Can be more if you're, US. I know a lot of US agency guys who pay their copywriters 5-10K a month, something like that. And copywriters, they can write, I don't know, 10 emails a day max, or like something like that. And also they take sick leaves, they get moody, they're like kind of like a little bit more artisty. Or if you have a copywriter who's like kind of like, working like clockwork and more reliable, maybe, chances are they're probably not going to be the most creative. For example, like there's not going to be a whole lot of creativity, a whole lot of jokes, a whole lot of just new ideas in the emails. And yeah, you had to do that. And then there's a QA who checks if the email is good, and then so on. And then you moved it to this designer creates it, QA again, show it to the client, get it approved, like client is picky or not. Okay, and then we send the email. So that was the process. So the main way that AI has changed, from an email marketing agency's perspective, is there's no real need for copywriters anymore, just from my perspective as of like 2026. I think I try to teach our account managers a lot of copywriting, in terms of like they should know how to get higher open rates, what is curiosity, why do we focus on benefits rather than features, all of the copyright. Like the biggest believer in copywriting that you will see on YouTube out of all of the email marketers. I'm the biggest fan. Like when I write a breakup text, I write it like this, like what you see on the screen here, like one sentence per paragraph, short, punchy sentences, kind of like creative and has a momentum, things of that nature. Actually, I had a disagreement with one of our clients recently, who used to be a journalist for well-known newspaper in the US, and she was always complaining that our sentences are too short. And this is kind of like the difference between copywriters and journalists. And like journalists like to write longer sentences that give you more of a, like the newspaper or the article, it kind of flows, whereas the email is kind of like bang, 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 bang. It's like jab, 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 jab. It's not like, it doesn't really like, I mean, it can flow, but it's not really, you can tell stories, but it's different from like an article or a book. like in books, it's kind of weird, even though my favorite book of all time does have this kind of stuff, which I'm sure you've seen in the other videos if you check them, which is the Tao Te Ching. Like that guy just wrote like 5 words per sentence and like 5 sentences in each chapter. Okay, back to email marketing. So yeah, I'm big believer in copywriting, but we don't really need copywriters anymore because now you have ChatGPT who does things for you for $20 a month. It can write as many emails as you want. You can create a good abandoned cart flow with 5 emails within 10 seconds if you give it a good prompt. We talk a lot about like what kind of prompts you should use. Things like, for example, if you're sending emails to a non-US or non-English speaking market or niche, then things like, for example, hey, I want you to be a native German speaker. I want to make sure that a full German native speaker who will read this email is 100% sure this was written by a native German speaker. Like things of that nature, just to make the prompts better. So now it's kind of like the same process for us at the moment without the copywriters. That's how it changed. Something that we've done recently is use make.com, for example, create campaign calendars. But even then, it's kind of like we still need to, for example, adjust the campaign calendars to what the client wants and also what was going to work, because AI still doesn't have all of the information. You can always add more information and more prompts. And it's kind of like getting there, but also you have to pay a lot, for example, for these credits when at the moment, at least for like Claude. Like you can kind of automate this process and automate as much as you want, but at some point, and this is kind of like the point that we've noticed as well, is at some point it starts to become kind of negligent, where it's like you don't like, people pay us to do their emails to put real thought behind things, and strategy is still hard to be replaced by. It's just the way we see it. Design as well. So we made another video. Hopefully there's going to be a video show to you right here in this moment, in this one, where we talked about Claude design and Claude code as well. And that one is, I think it's good, but for example, it cannot take feedback into account. So if you want to write your email with, like, you wrote the email copy with ChatGPT, let's say, then it struggles to like put all of the emails, all the text into that email. Also, the design is going to be a little bit too condensed, in my opinion. And so far, our process has just been get the copywriting with ChatGPT, make the account manager be the QA. So he will check the emails, like, does it make sense? Do we say some stupid things? Like maybe, for example, like this email was talking about like as if it was a one product store, but maybe that's only all the information that you uploaded. So like, oh, this store has multiple products. So we need to rewrite that email, right? There has been this study done by Salesforce that says generative AI among marketers jumped from 51% in 2024 to 87% in 2026. So that's called like a really big jump. And the way I see it is, I think designers will soon, within 1 or 2 years, kind of go out of business, or there's not going to be that much of a need. I think header images now can be done really well with even ChatGPT, for example. So that's sometimes what we use. YouTube thumbnails. I do my YouTube thumbnails with ChatGPT. Before I used to have to pay a designer from India for $10 per design, and there will be mistakes. It will be kind of tacky, and it will take 3, 4, 5 days, and sometimes he will forget. So now ChatGPT can create it within minutes. So especially if I use the Pro tool. Another stat for you, 63% of marketers now use AI in their email workflow. 71% use ChatGPT specifically in their email workflow. Now, let me hit you with a little Charles Darwin quote. It is not the strongest or the most intelligent that survives, but the ones most adaptable to change. So I'm seeing a lot of, movements on the West about, AI is evil. It's not real art. And, you can have your own opinion on that. The way I see it is, I don't know, I'm kind of practical, and it's like where things are going. So I'm just going to try to adapt to it. If you ask me the question, can we be doing this in 10 years? This specifically email marketing for e-commerce? Maybe. Yeah. Like will e-commerce exist in 10 years? Yes. Will marketing agencies exist in 10 years? Probably. It would be crazy if they don't, but you never know. And I don't know, it's just like, I always try to be at the kind of like the cutting edge of this, like big changes like this. But this one is basically like rejecting Google in 2005 or rejecting Photoshop because it isn't real art. So yeah, the question isn't whether you use it, it's just like basically how. 87% of marketers using AI. Opting out entirely is now the exception. So yeah, a lot of marketers are using it. The share of marketers not using AI for content fell from 65% to 5% in 2 years. That's from HubSpot. And marketers now save like 6.1 hours per week with AI, which is about 8 working weeks a year. Yeah, and I also have a lot of early adopter friends, and all of my friends from Dubai, they keep talking about how we're cooked. You need to make 10 mil today to be able to survive. And I don't know, personally, like, I think that's kind of like the other extreme versus the, AI is evil, never use AI. But I just don't get, like, I just don't think it's that bad as long as you can keep adapting to it. But it's interesting to listen to. The other question that I had personally was whether Klaviyo will survive, let's say the next few years, or thrive or continue to control the market. I have a friend. There's a friend of mine who does Shopify apps, and he said that he was trying to create an alternative to Klaviyo, so another email sending provider, and the amount of BS you need to go through with GDPR and like relationship with email providers, Gmail, all the rest of it, and just the amount of like bureaucracy and legal stuff you need to deal with, it makes it really, really tough for someone to create a really good email marketing software. But one of my worries with Klaviyo is that it's becoming too expensive. They're just getting, in my opinion, a little bit too greedy. So there are, in my opinion, like the second best one right now is Omnisend, and then everything else after that, like Bravo, I don't really like it, honestly. Active Campaign is interesting because they are, in my opinion, or experience as well, they're a good email sending provider, but they don't attribute you shit. Like, they don't attribute you to like any revenue, basically. So you might be, kind of like doing the same things if you're using ActiveCampaign or Klaviyo, minus the level of flexibility that Klaviyo offers with segmentation and predictive analytics and things of that nature, which you cannot do with ActiveCampaign. But also ActiveCampaign just says that like you make way less money, which actually like it comes back to this interesting market dynamic between software companies where they're kind of like competing against each other. So even like if you have an email marketing software and you try to attribute revenue fairly or like reasonably, and maybe you don't have like a 5-day attribution window or 30-day attribution window, like if somebody opens your email, you say, and then they buy straight away, that you only attribute that to a sale, which you could argue is the fairest way, then people will just not use your software tool because they think they're making less money with you versus, let's say, Klaviyo, for example, which attributes everything to Klaviyo. Okay, not everything. And I often get into, I wouldn't say disagreements, but yeah, just like discussions with clients about like what actually made the sale. We're partners with Triple Whale as well, where they have these like multiple really interesting, it's not only last click attribution that can make the most sense from an attribution perspective, it's also like, let's say if somebody saw your like opened 7 of your emails in the last 7 days, and then the last time they clicked on the ad and then they purchased, then it's kind of like, again, like a tricky little conversation with like what actually made the sale. So I mean, that was just a quick like kind of like a 360 view of like how I see AI at the moment and what things used to be like 7 to 8 years ago, what they are like now. I think the next one that will be gone is designers, but I still think people will need strategy. But if not, then we'll try to adapt. So that was about it for today. Let me know how you're using AI, and make sure you like, subscribe, comment, and I'll see you in the next video. Ciao.